Alright, how's it going, guys? Time for my out-of-box review here of the HGUC Gustav Karl unicorn version. Now, let's just acknowledge the obvious that this is a very huge, thick, bulky kit. It's just a massive bulk of an HGUC kit and design. So go ahead and get to the comments and get all that out of your system, get all your chungus and all that thick memes all out of your system now, so we can just continue on with the review with acknowledging the very obvious fact that this kit is very obviously massive. Now, how was the actual build of the kit? Well, I streamed it on YouTube and Twitch, so if you watch that, you can go back and check it out if you haven't watched it, but it was a pretty fun, interesting build. It was quite unique because it seemed like Bandai did obviously take into account the mass of the kit and just the design of it, and to make it pretty interesting. Some of the joints of the were pretty interestingly designed. Some we've seen before, and some are kind of new to the HGUC line, it kind of seems like, or some of the things that they've done with this I think are pretty nicely engineered, so we'll go over all of that here in a moment. But as always, guys, a huge thank you to SA Gundam Store for sponsoring the review. So check out the link to their site down below. You can get this kit and everything else there with 10% off using that coupon code there. So check them out. And so before getting into the cool gimmicks of the articulation and everything on the actual mobile suit, let's talk about the weapons and accessories here really quick first. So let's first talk about the included stickers with the kit. So you do get a few foil stickers for this, basically just going to be a pink one there for the camera on the front of the head, but it's worth noting that that is actually a clear pink part. So the clear pink part there for the visor extends up to the front camera as well. So if you didn't want to use that, you do have a clear pink part underneath that. You got this little blue sticker here that wraps around the end of the horn there on the front of the head. This little red sticker here on the front of the crotch part. On the back of the head we have a pink camera sticker there as well. And then wrapping around the legs we have these big black stripe stickers that go around the sides of the legs there. Now as for option parts here, we have this part here for the shield. So we got the shield in this kind of like close position here. But if you use this option part there for the arm of the shield instead, which unfortunately is just filled with a bunch of hollow spaces on one side, then you're going to be able to get the shield more extended out away from the body, and we'll see that in use here in a little bit. We've got our two clear pink beam saber effect parts for this. The beam sabers are stored here in the side skirts. So those can kind of fold open like that, but they actually aren't on an actual hinge. They're just on like parts that just kind of stay together as long as you don't pull it apart too much. But anyway, our beam saber handles are stored there in the side skirt. And then for the option hands for this, we've just got a set of regular holding hands and then also a trigger finger hand, which I have here on the beam rifle. And this is the Jagan D-type beam rifle for this. No sticker for the little camera there on the front of that, but it's just really basic, just two parts sandwiched together and then one separate part for the barrel, and that is it. So it's really tiny, puny little gun for this gigantic, massive kit. It really would have been cool if this would have come with something else larger, but this is accurate to what it used in the Unicorn anime anyway. And that is it for all of the weapons and accessories for this. It does have some more cool gimmicks and weapons kind of built into it, which we'll see here in a moment, but let's just get into the articulation now. For the head, I don't know, unfortunately the head only goes down to there, which I kind of wish that the head would point down just a little bit more, but unfortunately it can't, and it's just kind of really blocked by the neck joint in there. But the head can go up pretty nicely all the way up to there, so that's good anyway. Again, the nice cool clear pink part there for the visor, and you do have some nice detail molded up underneath that, so if you wanted to paint up underneath inside behind the visor there, it's gonna look pretty nice. I really like the layered parts here with the little red there for the chin, and you have like a dark blue layer, and then you fit this one more gray layer over the top of that. Makes the head look really nice overall. The shoulder joint as it is can only go forward and back so far, but you can actually pull that shoulder joint out of there very gently because it does happen to just kind of fall out. The polycap will pull out of there if you pull it out too hard, but then you have more articulation here. But as you can see, it's going to be really weak now with just the weight of the arm, and the joint there is just not very strong. So while this worked really well for certain kits like the Ifrit Schneid or something like that, for this kit it doesn't really seem to work quite as well, that articulation there in the shoulder. But because that shoulder joint doesn't move upward at all, you can only get this up as far as the ball joint will extend, which is only going to be till there. But this blue part here on the side of the shoulder armor will move a little bit forward and back like that. Now that will help to get that a little bit out of the way for you to be able to get the arm extended up basically as far as it's going to go, which is really only going to be about to 90 degrees to the side. So it's really going to be the extent of upward motion there in the arm. Otherwise the arm is going to work pretty normally, just a rotation here at the top, so you can rotate that around there. Nice double joint in the elbow, which will give you a pretty full bend there at the elbow, so that's nice. The wrist is just on a ball joint, and while on this side we don't have anything except for a pretty bad seam there on the side of the arm, which we do have on this arm as well in there. But this arm does also feature this missiles here in this side of the arm, which you can fold open that little door, and you have those nicely molded in red in there, so you don't even have to paint those if you don't want to. So that's pretty cool, and a nice little gimmick just to add a little bit more firepower to this gigantic, massive suit. Now, as for the stomach area, you're not really going to have a lot of forward and back movement or side to side movement to speak of at all. You can rotate that a little bit side to side there, but really not going to have much, because as you're going to see, that's just going to pop off the ball joint there pretty easily, just because of this whole section, the whole front of the torso, which I really like this in terms of just the design. It's a cool design aspect. You have this part of the torso that kind of extends out over the front skirt kind of interestingly, but it does kind of inhibit the movement pretty well. And also this red part in the front, be careful when you're holding that, because if you're pushing that, you can push that red part in, and that's not where it's supposed to be. That part is supposed to be pushed forward. So just make sure when you're posing the kit you don't accidentally push that in and then forget to push it back out or something like that. But anyway, moving down here to the skirts now, this big huge part for the front of the skirt. Again, I really like that as far as the design. The side skirts will move up and down just a little bit here. They're kind of blocked by that hose part there in the center, so those really aren't going to move very far out of the way. Now, it's a shame because we have a lot of nice articulation here in the knees, which we'll see in a moment, but you can't really get the front skirts out of the way to get the legs up very high at all anyway. The side skirts will move up and down like that, and then we get around here to the backpack. Let's talk about the backpack here first. So nothing really moves on this. We've got a really cool design for the backpack though, some nice color separation there with the dark gray for the thruster bells and the gray and the blue and a little bit of red on there as well. The shield arm can be rotated up and down here where it's plugged onto this part like underneath the red cap, and you can rotate it that way, and then the end of it is actually just on a ball joint, so you can move that around on the ball joint. But again, just because there's not really much room for it to move because this arm is so short, it's not really going to be able to move it around much without putting it on the longer extended arm for that. But anyway, then let's move down here to the back skirt, which is probably my least favorite part of this kit. The back skirt for this is just too massive. It just is too distracting if you're looking at this kit from the back. When you look at the front, I really like the design. It's really cool, all the big blocky shapes. When you're looking at it from this way, all you see is this gigantic back skirt, which is just looks too big for anything that it would need to be. Now it does move up and down a little bit, but it's kind of blocked by the backpack, so there's not really any room for it to actually move anywhere. You do have some detail up underneath the back skirt as well, if you can actually see that, but that is there as well. Now at the hips, you can rotate the legs there at the top. You can bring them out to the side, all the way pretty far out like that, but I don't know how they're going to do under the weight of gravity. They're going to be falling down under their own weight, it looks like. And then with the extent of that front skirt up, you can bring the leg up to only about there. Then you can bend the knee. Now, as you're going to see, the knee is not going to really bend at all, but what you can do is a really cool gimmick they built in here to the knee. You can actually pull the leg out like that a little bit, extend that out, and then you can bend that around there. And then you can actually move this part here on the back of the leg as well. You can push that down and push that so that that's out of the way. So then you can get a really nice full knee bend there. Now, unfortunately, I keep finding that this part keeps coming undone. So this part just doesn't really want to stay on there very well on that ball joint there at the center. You kind of have to just put it on there and not touch it, because as soon as you want to touch that to move it anyway, it's just going to pop right off. So be careful with that. But as I was saying, you get a really nice knee bend, but you can't really bring the leg very far forward to do much with it. But it does still look pretty cool in general there. Now pushing this part here at the back up to where it's supposed to be, this thruster bell up underneath there can move up and down a little bit as well. And up underneath the leg, it's pretty cool. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 thruster bells up underneath there, which do look pretty nice, and full detail up underneath the feet as well. It's a nice touch. This front little bit of armor here on the front of the foot is on a ball joint, but there's not really much room for that to actually move around anywhere, but it does sort of move a little bit. The foot itself can be moved up to about there, back to about there, not really a whole lot, and then side to side, really only a little bit there as well. Alright, so as you can see, it's got some interesting points of articulation, but it's going to definitely be suffering due to its overall size and weight. So I don't think that's going to be coming as a surprise to anyone, but overall, it's just kind of pretty good articulation for what you would expect for a gigantic mobile suit like this. I really don't think it's all too bad. You can still do some pretty alright posing with this, and especially if you did a little bit of extra work to tighten up a few of the joints here and there, you could definitely get some nice posing out of this. You wanted to get something like really dynamic. Now, with a mobile suit like this big and bulky, you're probably going to want to try to customize it by giving it a little bit larger weaponry, and then maybe having it in just a big like massive standing mobile suit pose there, just holding its big massive weapon. I don't know if anyone's going to really be wanting to put this in any like really dynamic ballerina poses or anything, but overall the articulation is just kind of okay. Now the other thing that I think is a little bit disappointing about this is the amount of seam lines. There are a good amount of seam lines on the arms, as I pointed out before, on the shoulders as well, on the sides of the legs, and I just feel like all those mentioned, the thighs, the forearms, and the shoulders, all could have been avoided by just engineering the parts a little bit differently. For a 2019 brand new high-grade kit, we kind of have come to expect a little bit more out of these, how we've had some really amazing high-grade kits in the line in the past year or so, and to have one with like just really blatant seam lines like that. It is an HG, so you can't really blame it too much. That is a kind of normal thing for an HG kit to have a good amount of, at least a handful of seam lines on it. It's just the particular ones on this kit I feel like could have been very easily avoided. Alright, and then for a quick size comparison, here it is compared to the HG RX-78-2 Gundam. Obviously, this is a very large mobile suit. I believe it was 22 meters, so that puts it a good 4 meters taller than the average 18 meter tall Gundam there. And I also just wanted to give you guys a little example here of giving it a larger weapon. Now this is the long cannon, I forget exactly what the name is, but that cannon from the HG Armed Blood Orphans Option Set 1, which is a pretty big gun, but even still, it doesn't really look that big on this giant kit. So I would definitely recommend just trying to get, if you wanted to get a bigger gun, just get like the biggest gun that you can find. Because if you're getting like a different kit, you think like, oh, that kit has a big gun, it's probably still not going to look very big in the hands of this gigantic, massive mobile suit. So just get whatever biggest gun you can find and then try to find a bigger one, and then that'll probably be of a suitable size for this guy. But all things positive and negative considered, I think it is still a pretty cool kit. Now, I don't think it's going to be for everyone. It's one of those that I think is going to be for a certain audience. Now, if you understand what you're getting yourself into with it, if you want a really big UC era kind of massive grunt suit, then I think you're going to know exactly what you're going to be getting with this. And so otherwise, I think for the general consumer, I don't think this is going to maybe one of those that a lot of people are going to be rushing out to get. Also just because it's not a very recognizable design. It's really only appeared in a couple of series and in very pretty minor roles. Now we're probably going to see one maybe in Hathaway's Flash as well, so we might be seeing another version of this out sometime maybe next year or something, and then maybe by that time there'll be a little bit more people maybe interested in the design, and people maybe be wanting to like come back to this kit. Maybe they weren't as interested in it before, but they may be more interested in it later. That's always a possibility, but I don't think this is going to be one that is going to be appealing to a lot of you. But I think if you do decide to get one, it is a pretty enjoyable build and it's a fun kit to work with. But in conclusion, who I think this kit is probably best suited for is someone who's interested in customizing it. This kit just really screams for customization. Now, like I mentioned before, giving it some different weaponry, giving it something a little bit more suited to its size, it seems like, or just customizing it by giving it some different equipment or adding details. A lot of big parts on this kit don't really have a whole lot of detail, so and a lot of big flat surfaces that are really easy to scribe on. So if you wanted to get a big kit with a lot of big flat surfaces to practice your scribing, I think this is a really good opportunity for that as well. So if you're interested in getting into maybe customizing a big heavy like mobile suit like this, then I think this would be a really good option for you to do that. And it's not really all that expensive for the size of it. It's relatively fairly priced. I think it was a list price around 2,500 yen if I remember correctly, so it's really not all that bad. If you can get it for around $30 or so, it should be pretty good. So take that into consideration, and any other further questions or comments you guys might have, leave those down there in the comment section below. And as always, guys, another big thank you to SA Gundam Store for sponsoring this review by just giving me the chance to give you guys my thoughts on these kits. So check out the link to their site there down below. And with that, guys, I'll see you in the next review. Bye bye. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to check the kit out for yourself, you can head over to USA Gundam Store, use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10, save yourself 10%. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.